So Fast 5 was directed by Justin Lin and it stars a whole bunch of people from the previous Fast and Furious movies, including Vin Diesel, Paul Walker, Jordana Brewster, Tyrese Gibson, Ludacris, as well as new addition to the team, Dwayne Johnson. And this time around, following the events of Fast and Furious 4, Dominic and Brian decide to pull off this heist from this drug lord who has $100 million in a vault, and they bring on people from the various Fast and Furious movies to kind of help them with this case. And that's pretty much the movie. It's pretty straightforward. So Fast 5 was the movie that kind of got me interested to go watch the Fast and Furious movies. I thought the trailers for Fast 5 looked fun, it looked interesting, and it definitely made me want to go back and watch all the previous Fast and Furious movies for the first time. And while you can watch my reviews for those, and they all vary in degrees, but this was the one that, in my opinion, is honestly the most fun and probably my personal favorite out of all of them. It doesn't take itself too seriously. The chemistry between the stars is really good. The action's fun. And it kind of just knows what it wants to be. It doesn't try to be anything else. So, what do I like about the movie? Well, the chemistry between the stars is really good. You can definitely tell that their off-screen friendship is also really good, and like they have a great bond, and you can definitely feel that on the screen. Their jokes are a little bit better. Their chemistry is a little bit better than normal. And I feel like even though we like to make fun of them, how they all like say they're family all the time, it's like, yeah, we do like making fun of that, but, you know, you guys kind of earn it because, like, your chemistry is really good and you all seem to be really good friends on screen and off screen, as well as Dwayne Johnson in the movie. I think he was actually really good in this movie, too. I remember Dwayne Johnson, like, just being this, action guy, and, like, yeah, he's mostly an action star, but, like, he's also really good in this movie, too. I like his fight with Vin Diesel in the movie. That was really fun. And I do like a lot of the action in this movie, like the opening scene where they're trying to help Dom break out of that bus. That was really fun. And also the scene in Rio where, they have the vault and it's hooked up to the cars and they just pull it through the streets of Rio. That was also kind of fun to watch. And I do think the action is a little bit better here than the rest of the movies, because it actually focuses on a lot of the action, particularly in those scenes. And I do think it's a little bit better than some of the other Fast and Furious movies, which I thought was a little bit too cartoonish at times, or just, I think it was like literally computer. It was just so cartoonish at times, like in Too Fast, Too Furious. It looks a lot better than it did in the previous movies. And honestly, this movie is kind of just the right amount of fun. It has the right amount of meta humor. They don't really like lean into the fact that they're just making fun of how these movies are just absolutely insane, absolutely ridiculous, and how nothing makes any sense, which they kind of later do in Fast and Furious 9, but I talked about that movie already. They don't rely on the meta humor so much. It's like, yeah, we kind of know what we're doing, but we're not gonna change the formula. We're just going to have, they kind of changed the formula a bit because now it's just a full-on heist movie rather than just a racing movie. But it's just the right amount of fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It just knows what's important is that these movies are not meant to be like awards contenders. They're just supposed to be a good time, and I can kind of appreciate that. So, and also Rio, which the movie takes place in, admittedly, they do give you a lot of great shots of Rio. It is decently shot. Like, it looks really good, like, actually seeing, like, Rio throughout the movie. That was also really good to see. What don't I like in this movie? The villains are just incredibly generic. Like, the first 4 Fast and Furious movies have, like, villains that are just incredibly generic. And I just feel like the villains, ironically, even though the Fast and Furious movies kind of get worse, the villains kind of get better with the later movies. This is one of those movies where like the villains are just not very good. They're just villains just to have villains. And they're not intimidating. They're just kind of brought on just to be the bad guys for this one movie. And also, some of the characters just don't really need to be in this movie. Like Gal Gadot, she was previously in Fast and Furious 4. Didn't really make much of an impact on me. She's also back in this movie. Still no impact whatsoever. And also there's these couple characters from Fast and Furious 4 that were part of Dominic's crew in that movie who were brought on, and they have like a moment towards the end where it's like, oh, this is like a big comedic moment for them. It's like, this is something that was really good for them. This is really great for them. But at the same time, I'm just thinking that may be the only character development these characters had, which is weird to be complaining about character development in a Fast and Furious movie, but you could at least try to like make your characters at least likable, or at least give them something, or like make them bond with the rest of the crew. But like they barely appear throughout this movie. It focuses mostly on Vin Diesel, Paul Walker, Jordana Brewster. And admittedly, I do think the chemistry between Paul Walker and Jordana Brewster in this movie is not nearly as good as it was in the first movie. But overall, this movie it knows what it wants to be. It wants to be a heist movie that's just fun throughout. The chemistry between the stars is great. The action, the fight scenes are pretty fun. It's just overall a fun movie that, I can't complain that it's, I can't complain that it's a dumb movie. It's like, it's dumb. It knows it's dumb, but it just doesn't care. And even though the villains are just generic and some of the characters could have gotten a lot more, I still enjoy this movie. Probably the best one, I would say. I'll give Fast Five 3 out of 4 stars. See it. So, what did you think of Fast Five? And also, what's your favorite movie in this franchise so far? I've been going through all of them. Some of them have been alright, some of them have not been. Comment down below, subscribe to the channel. This is Pat. Stay safe.